Hello, bruvs. We're back with Salem's Children by Mary Leader, a 1979 horror book which has a bit of an underground following, but Leader's main book, the or Triad, is obviously inspired the song Rhiannon by Fleetwood Mac. Chapter 6. 2 weeks passed before I finally climbed the circular staircase to Aunt Bo's tower. To be truthful, deep at the back of my mind was the thought of Aunt Bo dying there. It wasn't the physical death that frightened me, but so many disturbing things had happened in the first week in Peacehaven that I had begun to doubt my own. Learned seeing her shade appearing, disappearing. Perhaps I feared seeing her shade appearing and disappearing. Whatever it was, I was unable to shake my unease. Now, as I gazed out over the panorama of River Valley and crag-crested bluffs ranged around the horizon, and luxuriated in the cool breeze sweeping through the circuit of windows, I laughed at myself. Aunt Bo's great black leather chair was there, but no ghostly apparition, only a natural sagging from use, and on her vast mahogany desk, the papers and newspaper clippings were neatly stacked, probably by Dana. Does it seem like a clunky transition? And there we go. Lost the page. As I said, I'm trying not to break the spine, but it's starting to show fissures. Look at that. Starting to get a crease there, and I don't like it. So, I'm holding it like this. Mahogany desk, the papers and newspaper clippings were neatly stacked, probably by Dana, as Aunt Bo never straightened anything. Orderliness was the only imprint death had laid upon the place. I should have known death and Aunt Bo had nothing in common. Instead, my spirit lifted and my fingers tingled with longing to paint the jumbled bluffs crowded one upon another until they lay blue upon the horizon. The phone on the desk jingled. Would Rowan and I come to dinner soon, and why hadn't we been down to pick out a kitten? As I hung up, I realized I was trembling. Would I ever get over my dread of those threatening calls? So many different voices. How efficiently they'd canceled out the first syllable of Peacehaven. Now, Carrie had posed a problem. Even though she had yet to take her first step, she was lightning on all fours and an incorrigible streaker. I had to make a rule that all screen doors be latched because she had learned to push them out. I mentally checked now. Yes, they were secure. Besides, Rowan had come in and would watch over her sister. In the sparkling clear day, I could see the faint outlines of the blue mounds to the southeast and the Platteville mounds to the southwest. Looking straight down, I saw Mrs. Carrier seated on a lawn chair in front of Dana's house. Her white head bent over a rag doll she was making for Carrie. Would that be Kari or Carrie? Cari. Freya lay at her feet, enjoying the morning sun. Then she was up, running swiftly across the lawn, in spite of the pups swelling her belly. Barking frantically, I froze. A little pink form was scooting over the grass toward the edge of the bluff. Freya circled her, trying to force her back, but Kyriad apparently thought the big dog was playing a game and kept right on. I plummeted down the stairs, 2 steps at a time, praying. By the time I reached her, Carrie was lying on her back, shrieking with Freya crouched by her side, one big paw over her chest. Carrie had reached out to me, only to experience a second betrayal as I scooped her up and proceeded to polish her firm little bottom with as much vigor as my shaking hand could muster. Wait, she spanked the baby? Rowan came running. Why did you leave the side door unlatched? She demanded angrily. I was thunderstruck. You came in last. I came in the back door, she retorted. Maybe I shouldn't have left her alone with you. I was too stunned to reply. No use trying to convince her that I had to unhook the screen to get out just now. I went back in, the tears stinging my lids. Carrie, bless her, vindicated me at once. As soon as I put her down inside the house, she darted on all fours for the side door again, pulled herself up by the knob, and deftly slid open the bolt. What do you got, bruv? Clearly, new measures had to be taken. After I'd secured the wailing infant in the nursery, I called Ward and requested fencing to make a safe play yard and door chains that would be too high for Carrie to reach. Later, I confronted Rowan. I think you owe me an apology, I told her. I'm going to wash my hair, she said coldly, heading toward the bathroom. Rowan, I want an apology. She whipped around. They say if a woman doesn't like her husband, she may resent his children. Cold steel sliced through me. Where did you hear such a thing? Iris, she faltered. I fought for self-control. You go there? All the kids do. It's a neat place. And she said that about me. My voice shook. Oh, no. Her blue eyes opened wide. She was just talking in general. I didn't tell her a thing, mother, honest. But Iris had guessed something and was using it. I don't like you going down there, Rowan. I don't trust her for reasons I'd rather not discuss. Just don't judge me by what Iris says. I love both you and Carrie deeply. Oh, the cynicism in that one word twisted the shaft, but my frustration was covered by the arrival of a delivery truck driven by a tall young man with an afro and pointed beard. He barely acknowledged my greeting as he unloaded the lumber and set about erecting the fence in the spot I indicated. He was naked to the waist, hopefully from the top down. He was naked to the waist, and the muscles under his skin rippled in the sunlight as he swung his sledgehammer. May I get you some coffee or a cold drink? I asked. No, thank you, his reply was curt. You must be Quentin Jackson, I ventured. If he was surprised, he didn't show it. Uncle Tom's terrorist son, right? The bitterness in his tone caught me off balance. I believe black activist was the term, I said, remembering Elspeth's remark, and that is quite something else. Not to these people here, it's a dirty word. So is the term Uncle Tom, particularly when you apply it to your own father. He set the sledgehammer against the post he'd just driven in, squinting at me in the bright sun. Well, he began, puzzled, I thought you'd deny it. What people say, I mean, I shouldn't have called my father an Uncle Tom. His hands clenched about the invisible thing that was hurting him. It's just that, well, he's so gentle. Does his work. No trouble, no complaints. Good old Darrell, folks here say. He's an old K. Stays in his place. It's not a bad place, manager. Oh, the job's good enough, Mr. Proctor's fair. I'll admit that. It's my mother I'm thinking about. The only woman in town with a doctorate, I said. You knew about that, he said in surprise. Ellison Proctor told me. She would. She's not like the others, he conceded. For what it's worth, I don't understand the school board. Unless they felt they couldn't afford her. No way. She offered to teach for less than her degree warranted. That must have been before the Equal Opportunities Law was passed. Why doesn't she apply now? Not a chance. She has pride, he paused. Dr. Carrier was chairman at that time. I think he and his wife would have kept me from going to school here if they could have. They didn't like me chumming around with their son. You knew Mark then? He was my best friend, he said quietly. I didn't know he drowned until I came back here. It's something nobody talks about. He picked up a post and jammed it viciously into the hole he dug. What do you know of his death? I asked. Only the official story. He swung his mallet at the post. And you don't believe it. Did he know Mrs. Faulkner? He straightened up, and I knew I'd touched the chord. He was fascinated by her, but she was so much older. Surely they weren't. I wouldn't know about that. He was on the defensive now. I was at the university when it happened. Lucky for me. Why do you say that? Wouldn't they have just loved to hang something like that on me? You could never trust a hoe. He stopped. A honky? Again, the look of surprise. You trusted Mark, I reminded him. He leaned on his sledgehammer. Mark was different. I think if he'd lived longer, he might have disappointed me too, like most whites. Freya sidled up to Quentin, her tail wagging vigorously. He ran his sinewy fingers over her wavy coat. Ah, you old girl, that's my heroine of the moment, I said, grateful the subject had been changed. If it hadn't been for her, I couldn't bring myself to finish. He lifted her muzzle. If you want to feel like a god, just look into a dog's eyes, he said, ruffling her fur. Somebody stole my big shepherd. I know who did it, but I can't prove it. If you knew who it was, why didn't you confront him and demand your dog back? It wasn't that simple. He didn't have Duke anymore. Laboratories pay good prices for dogs. Or maybe someone wanted to make a fighter out of him. Dog fighters like German shepherds. Dog fighters around here, they go all over to collect dogs. Do you know, these days a good fighting dog brings as much as 3 or 4 grand. Only Duke wouldn't have made out. He was too gentle. Quentin didn't trust anyone, I thought. It was possible the dog had run off or been killed on the highway. Unless they abused him into being mean, he added. I hope I'm wrong. I'd like to think whoever got him treated him decently. His voice trailed off. Damon was coming across the lawn, and Quentin was glaring at him with pure hatred in his eyes. Excuse me, please, I said hastily. Damon's face was livid. He pointed to his mother. How long has she been here? He stammered in his fury. Why wasn't I told of this? I had arrangements made at the county nursing home. Your mother preferred to come here. She's over 18 and under senility. I really don't know what you can do about it. He drew his hand back as if to strike me, then dropped it. She needs constant care, competent nursing care. Was she getting it where she was? Alone? The telltale vein bulged in his forehead. I can have that woman prosecuted for operating a nursing home without a license. Nursing home, Damon? Your mother's paying room and board. With what? None of your money, to be sure, I answered tartly. But she does have Social Security, and if Dana considers that sufficient, I think that's her business, don't you? The whole town will talk, he protested. The whole town is talking, I answered, but they'll stop if you let on that it was your idea. He knew he was defeated. Well, if this is what she wants, I suppose I'll have to go along with it. But if anything happens to her, I'll see that Indian woman answer for it. Then he managed a limp smile. I'm sorry I blew up, Mitty, but I am concerned about my mother. Then why didn't you take her into your home? He shook his head. You must have noticed Charity has problems. Can you see her and my mother getting along? No, I couldn't. I held my breath at Dana. As Dana came toward us, but to my surprise, Damon greeted her amiably and made an about face. My mother appears to be happy here. Perhaps I can add something to the stipend she pays you. She took his measure. She's paying me adequately. No, I insist, he persisted. But we'll talk about that later. Right now I must get over to the Reds. Esther having difficulty with her pregnancy? Dana asked. Her tube should be tied. I know, he sighed. You think I haven't told Homer? He wants a son, and if this is another girl, he'll try again, even if it kills Esther. At a man. He glanced at his wristwatch. I'd better be going. I've a golf date later. He went over to his mother, spoke to her briefly, gave her white hair a hurried pat, then climbed into his auto. As the Lincoln headed down the hill, a smaller car came careening into the drive. Brakes and tires screeched on the loose gravel as the vehicle, its rear end obscenely elevated, spun around and headed back down the bluff road. Too fast for me to see who was driving. Freya was standing on the grass just off the drive. Suddenly the car swerved toward her without braking. There was a sickening crunch, and the dog's body was catapulted through the air. The driver leaned out of the window, gave a whoop, and vanished down the drive. Freya was struggling unsuccessfully to stand on shattered legs when we reached her. Several ribs were white against her golden coat, and blood was pouring from her flanks and mouth. A red haze enveloped me. He should burn, I heard myself scream. Burn, God damn you, burn. As the mists began to clear, I saw Rowan running past me and Dana kneeling by the suffering animal, which looked up through her agony with trusting, loving eyes. Her mistress ran her hand tenderly over the dog's eyes and mouth, crooning unintelligibly, drawing the hurt out of the heaving body. One paw reached out and touched Dana on the knee. Then a blade flashed, and Freya lay still, but for slight movements in her distended belly. Swiftly, Dana slid it open, reached in, and pulled a mass of pups from the cavity. With deft strokes, she opened one amniotic sac after another. 8 tiny sparks of life, but only one kindled. It squirmed almost imperceptibly at first, then more vigorously as the woman massaged it and breathed into its mouth. Hello, Bobs. The knife lay in the grass at her side, its long, wide blade and strangely carved, black handle glistening with blood. The pup gave a faint squeal. Dana turned to me with tear-blinded eyes. It is a little male, she said. If he lives, I will give him to you, Mitty. She rose with difficulty, cradling the wet little thing in her arms. Rowan had disappeared, but Quentin was gently stuffing the dead puppies back into the dog's body. A flash of unspoken understanding traveled between him and Dana. He picked Freya up and carried her around to the back of the old house, where he began to dig a grave under a lilac bush. Moving like an automaton, I was housing away the blood when Rowan came running back up the road. She rushed at me headlong, then stopped short, a sudden scrim of fear clouding her eyes. Slowly, carefully, she began to edge around me as though I represented some unspeakable horror. What's wrong, sweetheart? I half whispered. She shook her head, still backing away. Rowan, answer me. What's wrong? I took hold of her arms. Don't you touch me. Her scream broke into a sob as she struggled to break my grasp, red blotches modeling her white face and neck. Tell me, Rowan, I pleaded. I'm your mother. That's just it, she responded through chattering teeth. You're my mother. Did you have to be? You wished him dead, I heard you, and he hit a tree and the car exploded, and he burned down there at the bottom of the bluff. What are you talking about? Who burned? Junior Osborne. Didn't you hear the crash? He didn't make the turn. Mr. Osborne came with the hearse, and he didn't even know it was his own son until they told him. I didn't hear, I breathed, releasing her. Rowan, I couldn't make that happen. I don't have any such power. Her hands went to her face. Daddy, she whispered through her fingers. Daddy, too? Oh, my darling, you must never believe such. I was protesting to thin air. She had run into the house. I stood there shocked into immobility until Dana took my arm to lead me inside. My God, Mitty, she said in a low voice as she walked. You are one of us. You have the power. You don't know it, but you have the power. God help you. It could destroy you, too. I'm reading this book, Salem's Children. Obviously, it's about witches. Rowan was just hanging up the telephone when I returned to the house. I'm going over to Aunt Charity's, she announced. I'll take you, I said. You don't need to, she seemed calmer now. You might not get through. The road was blocked when I was down there. It's not far, and I'd like the walk. I really would. Dark red-brown lashes, Jesus Christ. Dark red-brown lashes opened wide with apparent candor, but I felt she was holding something back. Yeah, the book's AI, and so am I. And so are you, you fucking moron. Rowan, I started, undecided whether to reopen the subject. We're all robots here. There, I just broke the secret to you. You're a robot. Rowan, I started, undecided whether to reopen the subject. She made my decision for me. I know. I was upset, that's all. You couldn't have that kind of power. I breathed more easily. And the same with your daddy, Rowan. You know I had nothing to do with that. Her eyes averted. Just forget it, Mother. I won't tell Aunt Charity anything. That's my girl, I thought gratefully. Rowan had always been very close about family matters. Too close, I thought. Even I was excluded. But in the relief of the moment, I let her go, even though something warned me not to. Afterwards, I dressed Carrie and went with her over to Dana's, where she at once went into squeals of delight over the puppy. You look exhausted. Leave the baby with me and go somewhere alone, Dana said, scanning my face. You surely don't believe I had anything to do with Junior's death, I protested. She bent over the pup, which was lapping warm milk from the tip of her finger. I felt the force of it, she said in a low tone. It was a normal reaction, Mitty, but some people have powers that could blow this world apart if they're not controlled, especially the old souls. Wish I had the power to shut people up from saying stupid comments here. None of this made sense to me, nor did I care to unravel it just then. You're sure Carrie won't be too much trouble? I asked. Not in the least. She might as well get to know her new playmate. You should keep him, Dana. You just lost Freya. She shook her head. He'll be safer with you. That didn't make any better sense. It's a great sentence. But I obeyed orders and plunged into the woods. Behind the house, guided subconsciously by an old memory, prickly ash and hawthorn lashed out at my bare legs as I went, but they were more than compensated for by the lush fronds of ferns, wild geranium, spikenard, and countless other plants I couldn't name, wild grapes, five-leaf ivy, columbine, and nightshade made liaison with the lower vegetation and the trees. Whether in the tough, I don't know why I said here, like come here, dog. Here, whether in the tough, gnarled tree trunks or the slenderest flower stem, surged the lifeblood of the earth mother. Yeah, I always read on her. And then people ask me, is this the Bible? And then I rage. This had been my secret sanctuary when I was a child. A wind fugue echoed through the grove, and somewhere a cardinal burst forth in glorious antiphony. The reason why I do live is because it takes forever to load a regular video. So I just do it live, and that way people can comment, and mostly it's just people torturing me. I moved along a narrow aisle slick with pine needles until I came to a circular lady chapel carpeted. What the hell's a lady chapel? To a circular lady chapel carpeted with a fine, soft, supple grass and bordered by the darker green moss at the base of the trees. A tall, stalwart ash and graceful, frilly maple, their limbs intertwined, were sacristans. Sacristans? Here, Philemon and Baucis, I used to call them, but now they were father and mother to me, and I embraced them in turn, pressing my cheek to their cool, rough trunks, striving to draw their strength into my body. Did I detect a beating within? No, only my own heart pounding against the bark. I sank down into the grass and lay with my head pillowed on the moss. The truth, the branches murmured above me. You must face it. How often had my parents said that? And yet, what was the truth, reality? Surely not what Rowan believed, that she had retracted Her accusation was little comfort. Had she done so merely to avoid conflict, or worse, because she was afraid of me? Even Dana believed I held a secret power within me. I opened my eyes to erase the horror projected on the interior of my lids, but still I saw it. The hurtling car, the great, trusting, unsuspecting dog by the road, the deliberate cruelty that had made me want to destroy. To me, in that moment, it hadn't been a boy, not even a human being, and my mind had expunged it like an obscenity erased from a blackboard. What was worse, aware as I was now that it had been a boy and human, I couldn't honestly feel regret. I wouldn't wish him dead now, but neither could I wish him back again. Yet, how horrible for Melvin to come with the hearse and find his own son. And Elspeth, what was she doing now? Did they know about my outburst? If they did, surely they didn't believe in such medieval things as curses. Hadn't their own ancestors been accused of laying curses? And didn't Peacehaven repudiate such ideas? No matter what I might have cried out in the horror of the moment, it could not possibly have caused their son's death. No. Pay me $10 million and I'll read every book you own. But what disturbed me most was that Rowan had linked Junior's death with her father's. I thought the wound nearly healed, but it had only closed over, an abscess poisoning her young, misunderstanding mind. And for me, recalling the memory of that night in Switzerland, that hideous night, I'd been lying in our bedroom, content, enjoying the child moving within me when Owen had entered. Damn, arm's falling asleep holding this thing. No, I can't do it this way. I'd been lying in our bedroom, content, enjoying the child moving within me when Owen had entered. He was drunk or high, and I'd recoiled from the stench of sweat that pasted his red curls to his brow and dampened his shirt. His hand dug cruelly into my breast as he turned me to him, the other hand forcing itself between my legs. You're going to have to get 2 jobs. Not tonight, Owen, I pleaded, trying to remove his eager hands. In this state, what might he do to the baby? I don't know, but I got to rub my nose. What might he do to the baby? But my protest only succeeded in inflaming him. He flung himself across me, sinking his teeth into my breast. I threw my knee into his groin and caught him off balance, but he lunged at me again. In desperation, I rolled out of the bed and reached behind me, groping for something on my dressing table. My fingers closed over a tall, cut glass perfume vial. Touch me, and I'll use this. My words penetrated his fogged brain. For a moment, I thought he would attack again, and I held the bottle ready, but something had gone out of him, and he hunched out of the room. I slammed the door and slumped against the frame, listening to him prowl the living room, kicking furniture, throwing books off the shelves. A vase, or is it a vase? A vase crashed to the floor. Then the score of Lucifer blared from the tape deck. I think Lucifer was a play he wrote or some shit like that. I became aware of my fingers still cramped around the perfume bottle and set it down, then sank back onto the bed, clutching my gown. Feeling defiled, contaminated by my own husband, by Owen, to whom I would have given anything. No, not anything, not my self-respect. I had been handled like a beast by a beast, and all because of the silvery white powder that had hollowed out Owen's mind and body until he was no more than a shell wherein the demon could flourish. This was what had assaulted me, not Owen. And it would wear off in a few hours. Tomorrow, if he took no more cocaine, he would be himself. This time, perhaps, he would listen to me, would realize this couldn't go on. I had sat up, new fears gripping me. Rowan mustn't see him like this, and he was in no state to be left alone. He might run out on the mountainside and stumble over the cliff, or fall into the frigid alpine stream that boiled down the nearby slope. Snatching up my robe, I ran into the living room where the tape had just reeled into frenzy. How I hated that melody, its furious staccato, the throat raking emotion and wild intensity. Using the drug to perfect these had made him into the creature that had invaded my bedroom. I snapped off the recorder and was heading for the front door when sounds from Rowan's bedroom halted me. I pushed open her door. Will it hurt, Daddy? What the fuck? Owen was crouching over Rowan, who lay with her baby doll clasped to her breast. It had belonged to my mother, a shell tinted bisque head on a stuffed fabric body. No, darling, his voice grated. You are my beautiful little queen, so soft and white. His hand moved down. Don't push it away. Let me, please. It would feel so good. Throw that damn doll away. He yanked it out of her arms and flung it on the floor. The head exploded. Why did you do that, Daddy? I'll get you another. I'll get you all the dolls in the world. Only let me. Daddy, you're heavy. Damn, my nose is itching. I must be conjuring up this cocaine head. Come on. There we go. I don't know why it does that, the phone. If I even move it right or left, it puts a thing across there. You can't change the direction of the camera. Shut up, YouTube. Daddy, you're heavy. I caught Owen by the hair, tumbling over the nape of his neck and yanked him back, bringing his face within inches of mine. May God strike you dead, I screamed. Oh, that's right. She did kill him. Well, why did see she could kill him, but why couldn't she just say, stop that cocaine use? And he stopped. But no, I guess she can only use it for evil. I screamed, thrusting him away from me so that he hit the floor. Slowly he turned over and began to crawl out of the room. Rowan was crying softly behind me. At the door, Owen grabbed the knob, pulled himself up, and stood there rocking back and forth like an unstrung marionette, the fires dying out of his eyes and his jaw gone slack. I tried to push him out of the room, but he leaned back on my hands, digging in with his long legs. Summoning all my strength, I finally managed to steer him into the guest suite where I undressed him and put him to bed. So, let me get this right. He was just about to sexually assault the child, and then you put him in the bed. When I returned, Rome was trying to fit bits of bisque together and crooning to her headless child. We'll get you another, I consoled her. I know, Daddy said so, she replied listlessly. Oh, darling, I'm so sorry, I exclaimed, putting my arms around her, but she pushed me away. Why did you knock Daddy down? Because he was sick. That didn't make any sense. I could read it on her face. You don't hit sick people. He was delirious, I lied. He didn't know what he was doing. That at least was true. He might have hurt you. He only wanted to love me. Jesus Christ. He said so. It was an accident. I was dumbfounded. What could I say? Of course he loves you, sweetheart, but your daddy is sick in a different way. And sometimes you have to be rough with that kind of sickness. You know how the doctor takes a little hammer and hits you on the knee sometimes? And tickles my foot, she giggled. I hoped that made her forget. But the scared white look returned as she continued. Oh no, cameras. There we go. Continued to toy with the jagged shards. They don't fit together, she mourned. My dolly's broken, and so is Daddy. Come on, sweetheart, I'll tuck you in, I had said. But she shrugged me off, turning an old face to me. I don't need you anymore, was all she replied. Yeah, it sounded like it. Daddy, I've never heard of that. Daddy gets on cocaine, then he's just trying to molest the kid. Maybe it does happen. I don't know. Never took cocaine, so. Here was the beginning of her hostility. How many more pages are there? I feel like I have 30 more pages before this chapter's over. It's quite a bit. 116. Yeah, 15 more pages. That can't be right. Here was the beginning of her hostility. In the stress of the moment, my mind had blanked out those fatal words. May God strike you dead. But she had remembered, and now as I lay here in the woods, so did I. May God strike you dead. And he had done so. Oh, shit. Oh, but surely God hadn't rolled that truck over Owen's Mercedes at my bidding. God commands. He doesn't obey. No, he only listens to women named Mitty who are pissed. Curses are only words, and they are nothing but wrong. Prayers, too, are words. So this was why Rowan shunned me, why she hovered over Cariad. If I could destroy their father, mightn't I destroy them too? But now she was older. Didn't she understand what Owen had been trying to do? Apparently, she had repressed his actions just as thoroughly as I had my terrible words until this moment. Well, I'd wanted her to forget, hadn't I? Hadn't I fostered the notion that her daddy could do no wrong, shielded her from the effects of his cocaine addiction? It's not focusing. Maybe I got a bad signal tonight. Is it really that bad? Maybe I got a bad signal. I had kept Rowan's memory of her father untarnished, no matter what it cost me. I suppose I'd hoped that as she matured, she'd gradually come to understand, although to explain to her what Owen had been trying to do to her that night was unthinkable. But after today, what hope had I? Well, I'm holding the book strangely because I don't want to crease the spine, but that's just what happens. So it's kind of dark. I long to oh, the chapter is almost over, son of a bitch, thankfully. I longed to confide in Dr. Brune, but he'd admired Owen's work, and I wanted everyone to remember my husband for the good in him. For the pleasure he'd given them, he'd taken cocaine. He'd taken cocaine not to indulge himself, but to perfect his art. Yeah, that's what he did. Like the scientist whose experiments lead him to create the monster that destroys him. Oh, yes, these I had done, kept Owen's image intact in Rowan's eyes, shielded him from the world, given Cariad her name and his memory, and sought to find excuse and counterbalance for his misdeeds. But now I was faced with the truth. I had done these things more out of duty and pride than forgiveness. For Owen lay on my heart like a stone, and I would never, never truly forgive him. Sunlight seeped through the fan, vaulting of. All right, let's start that over. Sunlight seeped through the fan. I can't do it. Sunlight seeped through the fan. Fan. Sunlight seeped through the fan, vaulting of the branches overhead. Natural incenses overpowered me. I drifted back to the happy times before those terrible years. Back, before we'd ever heard of a show named Lucifer, before there was a Rowan toddling around our sunny, plant-filled village apartment. Back to the first days of our marriage when Owen and I would take the ferry over to Staten Island and walk along the bench, or the beach, not the bench, stooping now and then to empty sand from our shoes, and we'd lie on the sand, listening to the wild, sweet song of the sea, and I'd reach up to touch Owen's face as he bent over me. This was not Staten Island, and this was not Owen. This was the one who always came to me in this twilight world, his face a shadow beneath his broad-brimmed, high-buckled hat, his great cape wrapped around me as I nestled against his heart. Then the harsh cry of a gull slashing past. Oh, what did I do? Was it something I said? Why did he leave me? Come back. Oh, come back. Must this dream always turn out this way? Oh, dream it again and make it turn out right. And he was there again. I'd not let him get away this time. My hand traced the fine, firm features. Mitty, a voice said gently. Mitty, who was that? My name was Mary. It was on the other side of my lids. My lashes fluttered open. He was still there, but the hat was gone, and the eyes were those of Gregory Town. Okay. Glasses. Well, normally I use this thing right here to weigh one side of the book down, but that's why I tried to get a library copy of this book, but it's pretty not rare, but no libraries have it. So normally I just weigh down one side, but like I said, I'm trying not to break the spine. Should I go on with the second chapter here? What do we got? 12 pages. Oh, man. I need to stretch. Bending over this damn book holding the cameras. A fucking chore. Well, if I set it up in what's this, landscape style, and put it on something, for some reason, the YouTube algorithm blocks anybody from seeing it, so no one ever comes to the live. Come on. And anytime I turn this thing sideways, it gives me a prompt to turn it back. All right, chapter 7. Let me put a hockey puck on here. Puck ain't doing shit. Oh, I beg your pardon. I guess I was dreaming. I stammered, withdrawing my hand. I knew it was too good to be true, he sighed, seating himself with his back to the ash. The sun filtering through the leaves glinted on his blonde hair and high glasses, and highlighted. Let me start that over. I knew it was too good to be true, he sighed, seating himself with his back to the ash. The sun filtering through the leaves glinted on his blonde hair and highlighted the rugged planes of his face. He had stuck his glasses into his shirt pocket, and this was the first time I'd seen him without them. Who did he remind me of? Gareth? But Gareth had known how to laugh. I was dreaming that Owen, my husband, had come back, I explained, and then it was someone else, someone I've known for a long time, but only in dreams. Haven't you ever had a recurring dream? He broke off a dried fern and drew it gently across my nose. Strange you should mention that. For a moment, when I saw you lying there, it was as if my favorite dream had come to life. Boy, what a line. And I had let myself in for it. She's always blonde, though, and your hair is dark. I'll bet she bleaches her hair, I teased. Was it possible he was serious? Not her hair. She doesn't belong to this century. She's a natural wheaten blonde. Not that I prefer blondes, he amended hastily. You know what your hair reminds me of? He didn't belong to this century either. A swain, not a swinger, I decided. Brown satin, he answered himself, like an evening gown my mother had. She was beautiful in it. Your hair has that sheen, and he lifted one of my long locks with his fern. Where the sunlight strikes it, it has all the colors of the rainbow. He paused, and I waited, both expectant and wary. But he only said, "Forgive me. I hope you don't think I was being too personal. This is the only nice thing that's happened all day." I could have guessed, he replied. Dana told me you had a severe shock. No worse than she. Oh, Greg, did she tell you about Freya and the accident? I was close to losing control again. His hands took firm hold of my shoulders. I covered the story, he said. Junior asked for what he got. I'm sorry for his parents. But in a way, it was their fault too. They may think it was mine. Yours? I cursed him when I saw him Intentionally. I mean, the guy fucking ran a dog over on purpose. What are you supposed to say? Kind sir, please come back. I confessed, feeling both relieved and foolish in the telling of it. I heard. I would have done the same. I stared at him. Who told you? I overheard Mrs. Carrier tell Irv Good, the sheriff, when he came up to question witnesses. Then it'll be all over town, I groaned. Unfortunately, yes, but you still had nothing to do with Junior's missing that turn. I hope Elspeth and Melvin realize that. That may be a problem, he frowned. Elspeth's naturally morbid. Melvin was a fool to let her see the body. He stopped at the sight of my stricken face. Leaf shadows pressed in on me, and I shuddered. I wish I could do something to help them. Lucian was with them when I left. He'll confront them. I dug in the moss absently, heedless of the dirt collecting under my fingernails. Are you sure? There's something about him that disturbs me. I haven't been to church yet for that reason. Cowbells in the distance told an angelus. What the hell's an angelus? Cowbells in the distance told an angelus. Oh, my nose just won't stop itching. We sat there in silence until a wren somewhere in the wood put an end to our reverie. How's the puppy doing? I asked. Dana thinks he's going to make it. She's rigged up an incubator out of a box and a light bulb. What do you name him? I hadn't thought about that, but it was nice to feel. I hadn't thought about that, but it was nice to feel life could resume with a certain amount of normalcy. Any ideas? How about Caesar? No, sounds too much like a Great Dane. But if you mean the manner of his birth, why not Macduff? Who? Was from his mother's womb untimely ripped. Not bad. He looks like a shaggy Scot. Is that a Shakespeare reference? A wave of guilt washed over me again. I leaned against the tree, fighting for equilibrium in the dizzy whirl of images around me. The boy's cruelty, the cruelty within me responding, Freya lying there suffering, Rowan's accusation and the fear underlying it. And that last night with Owen, I bit my lip to hold back the tears. Oh, my back. I came to talk to you about the pageant. Greg's change of subject was deliberate, commanding, steadying, to remind you that you promised to help with the artwork. I haven't forgotten, I said, brushing some teardrops from my cheeks, but I'll need material on Salem's history. There's an excellent Salem collection up in your tower, and I'll help you. He rolled over on his stomach and looked up at me quizzically. You can start with my script. I just happen to have a copy here. He pulled a bulky manuscript out of a small briefcase he had with him. Our hands touched as I took it, sending a chain reaction through every cell in my body. Yet it was not a purely physical sensation. It was more a feeling of recognition, of having known the touch of this hand before. There was both pleasure and distance in it, or distaste in it. No. Camera's orientation is locked. Rotate device. There was both pleasure and distaste in it. You know so much more about the theater than I, he was saying. I'm almost embarrassed to show this to you. I'd appreciate any suggestions you might have. A footnote on the first page caught my eyes. What does this mean? The War of the Covens. That's the title of my doctoral dissertation. It's my theory that New England in colonial times was divided into any number of covens, practicing witchcraft under a distinct caste system. In other words, not only were there covens among artisans and farmers, but among the upper class who employed popular superstition to their own advantage. It wouldn't have been new. According to Margaret Murray, the Plantagenets Plantagenets. Why is my nose itching so bad tonight? It's that cocaine from the book. What the hell does that say? The Plantagenets? The Plantagenets were practicing witches, but strict Puritans brought up to abhor witchcraft only when the other guy did it. The Puritans didn't hesitate to use fire to fight fire. They relied on wise women or white witches, like a certain Mrs. Carver, whose shining spirits convinced Cotton Mather that another storm of witchcraft was about to descend on Massachusetts, and Mather himself practiced exorcism. According to his memorable providences, he drove demons out of the Goodwin children in Boston, especially the girl Martha. Yes, Dr. Brune mentioned that after Rowan had that strange seizure. I was surprised to find he knew so much about our New England history. Come on. Dr. Brune is an amazing man. He seemed to think Rowan's symptoms were much like Martha Goodwin's. Were they really? So much so I didn't know if I should mention it. Your little girl never had access to Mather's book, did she? I shook my head, my face flaming. Are you intimating that Rowan was faking? Not at all. I was thinking of the power of suggestion. I'll bring you Mather's book sometime. We descendants of the Britons, are still susceptible to such things. Druidism and pagan beliefs are ingrained in us. What do you do? What do you do when you say everything is going fine? Your car runs, your family is healthy. A knock on wood, of course. And if I get a sty in my eye, I spit on a gold ring and rub my lid, and the sty goes away. You're kidding. No, I'm not. It really works, my mother taught me. There, you're superstitious too. I lean back against my tree. It's not superstition if it works, and I know it does. God damn it, camera. I'm not even moving. I lean back against my tree. It's not superstition if it works, and I know it does. Although I don't know why. You're proving my point. All its invasions made England a melting pot of religions. When Christianity arrived, it spread its mantle over the old beliefs, but they're still there. And when the mantle slips, they show through. To hate witchcraft is to believe in it. And if you believe in it, you naturally resort to counter magic and violence to eradicate it. And that's what's dangerous. Hysteria breaks out, and then nobody is safe. For instance, among those hanged in Salem were two women whose younger brother was my direct ancestor. I groaned inwardly. Another genealogy buff like my mother. So I have a natural interest in them. Even the judges hesitated to find such staunch church members guilty, but they didn't dare go against the panic they themselves had fostered. The older sister, Rebecca Nurse, is perhaps the most cited case of wronged innocence, but the younger, Mary Esty, was, of all the victims, the most intelligent and literate. Her famous petition, written in her own hand to the appellate judges, pleaded not for her own life, but for more caution in future trials and for a re-examination of confessing witches, lest they belie themselves to save their lives and thus be damned. Imagine a condemned woman having the compassion to worry about the weak. His brown eye glowed. That don't sound right. Mary Etsy haunts me, Mitty. She was a restless spirit. What's this guy, a fucking Cyclops? Oh, his brown eyes, pardon. I guess I'm the Cyclops. His brown eyes glowed. Mary Esty haunts me, Mitty. She was a restless spirit. According to the record, her ghost stopped the whole miserable affair. You don't really believe that, do you? I have to, Mary. The recorders did. So did my ancestor, Barrett Town. He was 16 years younger than Mary, who was 58 at the time of her death. His mother had died bearing him, so Mary was more like a mother to him than a sister. Mary, Town, Esty, those were names right out of my dream, where the worn little woman with a swollen belly sat by the fire, stroking her cat. Is that, what's his name? Grimalkin? He became a stone cutter by trade. He went on, gravestones mostly. I imagine as death was always with them in those days. During the first part of his life, he was probably content to make the crude little slabs you see so often in New England, with incised skulls and other symbols. But after Mary's death, he spent nearly 8 years in England perfecting his craft. When one of the Salem judges, Lieutenant Governor William Stoughton, died in 1701, Town was commissioned to carve the marble for his tombstone in Dorchester. I don't know, it's probably not Dorchester, but I don't know how to say it. So he produced a masterpiece, for he had become a sculptor and an avenging angel as well. He carved with a double-edged blade. We got like 5 pages left. How do you mean? At one end of the tomb, he reproduced the Stoughton family arms. At the other, he carved a pair of skulls with stylized ribs, which, gruesome as they are the work of a master. In addition, hovering above the two skeletons is a winged figure with an hourglass in the center, which probably means tempus fugit. Yet, if you look at the wings and hourglass in a certain light, they take on the appearance of a vampire. The story handed down in our family is that old Town deliberately avenged his sisters. There is no reference to that in the fragments of her diary that have survived, but he did mention his hatred of Stoughton. I absently picked at the green part of a leaf, denuding its skeletal structure. Why Stoughton and not the other judges? Because he was Chief Justice at the trials, I imagine, and he never recanted as his associate, Samuel Sewell, did after his favorite daughter died. Sewell thought his Sarah's death was God's punishment, and he made public penance, but not Stoughton, who was furious when Governor Phipps called off the trials. Greg pursed up his lips in an imitation of an austere despot and thundered, "We weren't away to have cleared the land of witches. Who it is that obstructs the course of justice, I know not." I applauded. You should play Stoughton in the pageant. To my surprise, he said he'd enjoy portraying the old curmudgeon. Be careful, I warned. To make him believable, you must try to understand his viewpoint and portray the humanity in the man. If he had any, he growled. If Sewell could admit his error, why couldn't Stoughton? But Sewell had lost a child. Stoughton didn't have any to lose. He never married, so he couldn't feel God's retribution like Sewell did. Greg frowned. I hardly expected you to defend an arrogant bigot. And upper-class witch, if your theory is correct, I reminded him. American history is more fascinating than I realized. Maybe that's how we're being governed now, by bell, book, and tape recorder. Now he laughed. We are a witchy country at that, he conceded. 13 colonies, a coven, if you will, represented by 13 pentacles in a magic circle on our original flag. And don't forget the 13 stripes, I supplied. What's worse, we keep adding pentacles, he continued the game. 2 more states and we'll have 4 covens, or a deck of cards. He reached in his pocket and pulled out $1. Ever notice this pyramid with the shining eye at the top? I shook my head. Just goes to show you, Just goes to show you can look at a thing all your life and never see it. That's straight out of the Kabbalah. Or Masonry. That's about the same thing. Ever read The History of the Templars? I confessed I hadn't. The occult background of red blooded, God fearing America. What a great title for a book, I exclaimed. Do you suppose we still have covens in the government? In Washington, anything can happen. He drew himself up to a sitting position, his face level with mine, so close his features blurred. I struggled against a desire to brush my lips against his, yet the impulse seemed not to belong to Mitty Llewellyn, but to another woman totally removed from me. Leaves rustled and we drew apart as a shadow fell across us. She was little changed, the same translucent eyes and pale skin, her lips curved in their salamander smile. Greg was the first to recover. Taking the day off, Iris? I closed the shop in deference to the Osborns. What are you doing? Her eyes asked me, and I brought your daughter home. I sprang to my feet. Rowan, she was at the carrier's. She shrugged. No, she was at my house. She knew Charity and Muriel were going to lacrosse today. She turned eloquent eyes to Greg. It's so important to give children a chance to communicate. The bitch, trying to make me look like a delinquent mother. My anger fused into pain. Had Rowan lied to me? What had she told Iris? It's been a long time, Mitty, she continued. Not long enough. Excuse me, I said aloud. I must get back to Rowan. I don't think she should be left alone. The counter rebuke failed to penetrate. Of course, she replied in a soothing tone, laying a proprietary hand on Greg's arm. Walk me home, darling. He shifted uncomfortably. Greg and I love to go for long walks, she added. I thought swimming was your sport, I blurted out before I could stop myself. Her pupils were almost non-existent in the yellow-green irises. We enjoy that too, don't we, Greg? She tugged at his arm. Come on, darling. Rowan needs her mother. Let's go. By all means, don't let me keep you. I turned away. If Greg was going to let her tow him around, I wanted no more of him. Wait a minute, Mitty, he checked me. Sorry, Iris. Mitty and I are working on the pageant. Some other time. Greg stayed only long enough to explain some notations in his script, but the length of his stay wasn't important. Important. If I ever hear somebody say important again, I'm going to rage. Every time I hear it come out of someone's mouth like it's two fucking words, it makes me rage. Important. It's important. Not import ants. We're not importing ants. She had forced a confrontation, and it had backfired. As for Rowan, that was another matter. After Greg dropped me off at the Phoenix, I knocked at her door. Our eyes met in the mirror where she sat combing her curls, and she looked away. You said you were going to your aunt's, Rowan. I was, but she wasn't home. You knew she'd gone to lacrosse. Iris told me. We may have our differences, Rowan, but I never thought you'd lie to me. I didn't. I never said I called Aunt Charity. But you went to Iris's house knowing I thought you were at your aunt's. Yes, she flung at me defiantly. Again, the warning bell in my mind. Don't make too much of this. Don't turn Iris into forbidden fruit. And she was nice enough to walk home with you, I tried to sound convincing, and perhaps succeeded, for she shot me a startled look. I didn't talk about us, she volunteered. I didn't think you would. I hurried out. The phone was ringing in my room. Submit. A male voice this time. We warned you. We hate you, witch. Move away. Move away. I dropped the phone, stared at it through several more rings, then jerked it off the hook. Listen, you. Oh, it's you, Charity. I'm sorry. I thought it was someone else. When did you get back? Then you haven't heard. Oh, you have. Yes, it was a terrible thing. I'm so sorry for Elspeth and Melvin. Rowan? Yes, she's here. I'll get her. I stumbled over something as I went to call Rowan. After she'd taken the phone, I bent to pick it up. It was a tiny model racing car, battered and crushed. Inside was a lump of charcoal. That's the end of chapter motherfucking 7. Anybody here to comment? Or you bailed? My damn right arm's paralyzed from that thing. Yeah, I guess that ain't working either, so.